There are people who feel the entire world within their chest. They walk among crowds like living mirrors, reflecting pains, anxieties, joys, and silences that aren't even theirs. They sense the tone of a voice before the word, the heaviness in the air before the conflict, the wound hidden behind a smile. They are the sensitive ones, the antennas of the human soul. But the gift of sensitivity in this rushed and deafening world often becomes a curse. From an early age, these individuals learn that love is earned by being useful, that peace depends on pleasing others, that survival requires softening other people's discomfort. They become involuntary therapists, silent confessors, wounded healers who bleed to keep the world in balance. And one day, inevitably, something breaks. A sacred weariness runs through them. The soul, saturated with others' noise, whispers, "And what about me?" It is in that moment, between exhaustion and awakening, that the true self begins to emerge. Alan Watts once said, "When you stop trying to control the world, you discover you were never separate from it." The same is true for the sensitive soul. When they stop trying to heal everyone, they begin to heal themselves. When they stop trying to please, they begin to exist. Today, we will walk together through this silent rebirth, the moment when the sensitive person ceases to be the mirror of the world and becomes the awakened observer of their own light. Chapter 1. The Hidden Origin of Sensitivity, Armor that Became Identity. Most sensitive souls were not born this way by accident. Their sensitivity did not appear as a gentle gift from heaven. It was forged in the fires of adaptation. Behind every empathic man, there is often a child who learned far too early that safety depended on his ability to feel everything. Maybe he grew up in a home where silence was dangerous, where moods shifted like storms, sudden, unpredictable. He learned to read the energy before the words arrived. He could sense the tension in a parent's breath, the hidden anger behind a smile, the emotional temperature of the room the moment he stepped inside. That vigilance became his superpower and his prison. To survive, he became hyper-attuned to others. He felt before he thought. He pleased before he asked. He adapted before he even knew what he wanted. And over time, that child's armor, this exquisite radar for others' emotions, hardened into identity. He came to believe that being good meant being useful, that love must be earned through emotional labor, that peace comes only when everyone else is comfortable. This is the quiet tragedy of the sensitive soul. He learned to read everyone else so well that he forgot how to read himself. He can describe another's pain with surgical precision, yet he cannot name his own desires. He has mastered empathy, but forgotten authenticity. Alan Watts once said, "We seldom realize that our most private thoughts and emotions are not actually our own, for we think in terms of languages and images which we did not invent." And this is the great confusion. The sensitive man mistakes other people's emotions for his own voice. The path of awakening begins when he turns that radar inward, when he starts asking not, "How is everyone else feeling?" but, "What is my body saying right now? What does my heart need?" If you are that man, take a moment to pause, close your eyes, feel your breath move in and out. Notice what is yours and what was borrowed. For the first time, allow yourself to feel you, unfiltered, unmirrored, unmasked. That is where the armor begins to soften. That is where the true self starts to remember its own voice. Chapter 2. The Sacred Pause, From Abyss to Space. Every sensitive man reaches a moment when something inside quietly refuses to continue. It doesn't happen in a dramatic storm of rebellion. It happens in silence. Perhaps it's a Tuesday afternoon, sunlight falling across the floor, and suddenly he feels it. The exhaustion of always saying yes, the invisible weight of being everyone's safe harbor, the deep, aching question, what if I just stopped? At first, the thought feels like heresy. To stop pleasing feels like betrayal. The mind whispers, if you stop being useful, you'll be abandoned. And so he hesitates at the edge of what feels like an abyss, a vast emptiness waiting to swallow the only identity he's ever known. But here lies the paradox Alan Watts often spoke of. When you let go of trying to hold on, you discover there was never anything to hold. The abyss is not a fall, it's a release. The moment he stops absorbing, performing, managing, something unexpected appears. Space. Space to breathe. Space to feel his own rhythm, his own pulse, his own thoughts unpolluted by the world's noise. For the first time, silence isn't loneliness, it's sanctuary. And in that spaciousness, patterns become visible. He sees how some people only called when they needed saving. He sees how his constant giving kept him small, invisible, safe. He begins to understand that what he mistook for love was often dependency wearing a gentle mask. The pause reveals what the noise was hiding. He realizes that beneath the fear of being unwanted lies the deeper fear of being seen. Because to be seen means to exist on your own terms, and that, for the lifelong pleaser, is the ultimate unknown. So he sits in the pause. He breathes into the void. He lets the discomfort stretch open inside him until it no longer feels like emptiness, but expansion. It's not death. It's a return, not an ending, but the quiet beginning of a life that finally belongs to him. Chapter 3, From Diffuse Light to Conscious Illumination. Before awakening, the sensitive man moves through life like a floodlight. His energy spills everywhere, illuminating everyone else's pain, joy, and confusion, while he himself stands in shadow. He believes that to be kind is to be available, that to be spiritual is to absorb, that to love is to disappear. But awakening changes the geometry of light. When he begins to see clearly, his light contracts, not in selfishness, but in focus. He becomes a spotlight, deliberate and discerning. He no longer shines indiscriminately upon every passing soul. He chooses, and that choice, that sacred discernment, is the first act of true love toward himself. Alan Watts once said, "Muddy water is best cleared by leaving it alone." The sensitive man starts to understand this. He no longer rushes into every emotional storm, trying to restore calm. He sits still. He lets the water settle. He realizes that his presence, clear, grounded, and self-contained, brings more peace than his endless effort ever did. This is what I call conscious sensitivity. It's not the absence of empathy, it's empathy with direction. He can still feel the sorrow in another's eyes, but he pauses before taking it on. He asks himself, is this mine to carry, or is it simply mine to witness? And that pause, that small breath of awareness, changes everything. The floodlight man is reactive, the spotlight man is creative. He no longer burns himself out trying to light every corner of the world. Instead, he becomes a steady flame, warm, constant, self-fueled. Some people will call him cold for no longer rescuing them. Others will call him selfish for no longer absorbing their chaos. But those voices fade when he realizes that love without boundaries is not love. It's leakage. Through conscious illumination, he learns the art of directed compassion. He gives from overflow, not from depletion. He helps where his presence truly matters, not where guilt demands. And in doing so, he discovers that his sensitivity was never meant to enslave him. It was meant to awaken him. Chapter 4, The Great Sorting. When relationships crack and truth emerges. When a sensitive man finally awakens, the world around him begins to tremble. Not because he becomes cruel, but because he stops participating in the unspoken contracts that once defined his life. The unspoken agreement of, I will carry your pain if you give me belonging. The hidden deal of, I'll keep you comfortable if you keep me loved. And when those agreements dissolve, something profound begins, the great sorting. At first it feels like loss. Friends grow distant, Family members seem offended by his quiet new strength. The phone rings less often. The silence, once sacred, now feels like exile. But this is the necessary clearing of the old field, what Alan Watts might have called the collapse of illusion. You see, the sensitive man's old world was built not on connection, but on transaction. He gave endlessly, and in return, received the illusion of worth. Now, as he stands firm in his truth, that illusion crumbles. Those who truly loved him remain. Those who only loved his usefulness begin to fade. And they will not go quietly. They'll reach for their favorite tools, guilt and nostalgia. You've changed. You used to be so kind. You think you're better than us now. But this time, he doesn't rush to prove his innocence. He breathes, he listens, and silently he thinks, yes, I have changed. Boundaries are misunderstood in the world of the unawakened. They are seen as walls, when in truth they are doors. Doors that open inward, back to the self. And through these doors, real love can finally enter. Because here's what happens next. New people begin to appear. They don't demand his energy, they respect it, they don't take his silence personally, they honor it, they don't measure his value by how much he gives. They see him simply for being. The great sorting is not a punishment, it's a purification. It's life removing what no longer matches his vibration. And though it hurts, because it always does, he begins to realize that solitude born of truth is softer than companionship built on illusion. So he stands still, amidst the quiet rearranging of his world, and whispers to himself, I am not losing anyone. I am simply losing what was never real. Chapter 5, Sacred Anger, Resting Body, and the Return to Self. After the great sorting, a silence settles, but it's not empty, it's fertile. And within that stillness, something long buried begins to rise. Anger. At first, it frightens him. All his life he was told that anger was dangerous, unspiritual, unkind. So he swallowed it, year after year, until it hardened beneath his ribs like sediment at the bottom of a deep lake. But when he stops pleasing, when he finally stops rescuing, the waters stir, and the anger begins to surface. It is not the anger of destruction, it is the anger of truth, the sacred fire that says, no more. No more self-erasure, no more silence disguised as compassion, no more confusing servitude for love. Alan Watts once said, the meaning of life is just to be alive. It is so plain and so obvious and so simple, and yet everybody rushes around in a great panic, as if it were necessary to achieve something beyond themselves. This anger, in its purest form, is life rushing back into the sensitive man. It is his spirit reclaiming space in his own body, demanding to be alive, not useful. And when he allows it, when he breathes through the fire instead of suppressing it, something miraculous happens. The body begins to exhale. The chronic tension in his shoulders starts to release. The fatigue that sleep never cured begins to dissolve. The headaches, the knots in the gut, the strange aches that doctors could not explain, all of it slowly softens, because the body is no longer carrying everyone else's storms. His nervous system, long addicted to chaos, starts to trust stillness again. He learns that peace is not a reward for control. It is the natural state that appears when he stops interfering. He sleeps deeply, he dreams differently, he wakes up lighter. And in that newfound ease, he begins the most intimate journey of all, the return to self. He rediscovers his own laughter, his own curiosity, his own rhythms. He realizes that solitude is not loneliness, it's communion with his true nature. He starts to care for himself the way he once cared for everyone else. This is sovereign sensitivity, the highest evolution of empathy. To feel everything without drowning in it, to care deeply without losing center, to love fully while remaining free. The awakened, sensitive man becomes what he was always meant to be, a steady flame, not a sacrificial fire, a lighthouse, not a lifeboat, guiding others home, but never leaving his own shore. Conclusion: the lighthouse within, serving without self-betrayal. When a sensitive man stops pleasing everyone, the world calls it rebellion, but in truth, it is resurrection. It is the moment when the soul, once stretched thin across everyone else's needs, finally returns home to itself. He no longer lives as an echo of others' emotions. He becomes the original sound, steady, resonant, unmistakably his own. And from that inner stillness, his presence begins to radiate with a different kind of power. Not the frantic energy of rescue, but the calm gravity of authenticity. Alan Watts often spoke of the paradox of life, that when you stop trying to hold on, everything that truly belongs to you stays. The same is true for the sensitive man. When he no longer begs for belonging, the relationships that matter remain naturally. When he stops absorbing pain, compassion becomes effortless. When he releases the need to prove his goodness, goodness arises by itself. He realizes that love at its purest does not demand self-betrayal. It doesn't ask him to shrink, to hide, to heal others at the cost of his own wholeness. True love, of others, of life, of spirit, begins only after self-love becomes non-negotiable. And so he stands now, quiet but luminous, a lighthouse on the shore of his own being. Ships may pass, storms may rage, but his task is simple: to remain lit. He no longer chases the lost in the fog. He trusts that his steady light is enough. This is the true awakening of the sensitive soul. Not the death of empathy, but its refinement. Not self-sacrifice, but self-mastery. And in a world addicted to noise and masks, his stillness becomes a revolution.